This is the Livingston Parish Ordinance Committee. It's the year of our Lord 2026. It's Monday, February 23rd, and it is now 5:03. Miss Sandy Teal, would you please do the invocation?
Heavenly Father, Lord, we come before you tonight. We thank you so much for the freedom that we have to stand right here, right now. Lord, we pray for each one of the council, for this committee, on the individuals tonight, give input. Please give us wisdom and knowledge that we need to do what's in your will, because if it's not in your will, Lord, everything's in vain. Lord, we want to pray for Fire Protection 7, where they're going through a lot right now. Crazy wildfires. They're protected. Lord, we promise to praise innocent. United States of America, to the republic, nation, indivisible, liberty and justice. Do you have the proposed ordinance? You don't have, you know.
Sorry about that battery issue.
Check.
All right, you're going to have to listen to me. I use my teacher voice. All right. Do roll call.
Okay. Mr. Mangus.
Present.
Mr. Wascom.
Here.
Mr. Erdy.
Here.
And Mr. Parker.
Here.
We got all present.
Welcome everybody on welcome to play part of the newcomer. Mr. Goff. Relinquishing a spot for Mr. Erdy. All right, the first new business we have is discussion and recommendation of amendments to section 42-367C, provider of ambulance services, restructure the quality assurance panel, and that's brought to us by Councilman from District 7, Mr. Ricky Goff. I'm going to turn it over to him.
Kirbywood Drive, Council District 7. So basically what this is after looking at the committee and the fact that Baton Rouge General is coming into our parish as the second hospital facility, what they do, as I understand it, is they have their own ambulance for transport mainly out of Ascension. That process will not be able to be done here because of the way our contract is worded with Acadian. Their contract is all the way through 2028, which will stay in place. Everything will be fine. I also had a desire from myself personally to just look at all the calls and digest that and make sure that we were getting the best absolute response and coverage that we could throughout the parish, both to help negate anybody that has questions, but also address anything that someone may have. So that being said, I reached out to Dr. Cole as far as the appointment on there and the coroner's office. Originally, when this was set up many years ago, they needed a medical type person. He said he didn't need to be on there, that if the committee had any questions, that he could be more than welcome, be more than happy to come to the committee and address any of those. So at that point, it was to be put on 2 council members, which I'd like to offer myself as that member. So then looking at it even further, in the ordinance and the way it's worded, I figure we just move it to a 9-member board. So what you see in front of you, it structures it to where you know who the chairman is, you know who the vice chairman is. And the chairman is the OEP director, which is, for every emergency type thing that comes through the parish. And the second is the vice chairman, which is the appointment of all the fire chiefs within the parish. They have a fire chiefs association within Livingston Parish, and they, as a fire chiefs, appoint a member to represent the fire chiefs association of Livingston Parish. So that person is on this board. So that person would be the vice chairman. So you literally have probably the two, OEP and the fire service, one being the chairman, one being the vice chairman. So that's just kind of gave some clarity because there wasn't nothing in the ordinance. So once we did that, moving it to a 9-member board instead of it being 8, and then I'm like, okay, all council members are not going to want to be on it when I'm not here anymore moving forward. So if you look at the wording, it says one council member will serve on the compliance committee. And then it has, right below that, it says 2 other council members, if wished by the council, would be appointed to the board, or their designee voted on by the council.
If I could interject for 1 second, Mr.
Yes.
Goff. Thank you for making that clear, because if we required 3, basically that would require for unpaid 3 members, 1/3 of this council, parish council, to have to serve on this. So
That's right.
I think we like what you did as far as designing it with the 1 required,
Right.
and then it can be up to 2 more.
Yeah.
Right.
And I thought that allows latitude where if you do have a group of council members that really want to be involved in that part of it, first responder part, or however you want to look at it, then any of we can put any 3 on it. But if not, it allows us the opportunity to appoint our designee on there. So that's kind of how we got to that. The one thing that I would look at changing, because I'd spoke with some people from Acadian before, and you'll see some language in there that the chairman and the vice chairman have to inspect the ambulances. And that's the way it's always been in our ordinance. And there was some discussion about that being changed. I never really seen anything, but it was some discussion about the fact that their ambulances have to be inspected yearly. Isn't that correct, yearly? Have to be inspected yearly by the state of Louisiana. So what I would like to add to this before it goes to the council is that we put that language in there, that the chairman and the vice chairman have to sign off if it's physically inspected. But if it's documentation, current documentation, showing that the ambulances that respond into this parish are certified through the state, that we will take that as being certified. Just no reason for us to require OEP director and the fire chief to go out and inspect an ambulance whenever the state's already doing it. That make sense?
Yes, it does. Is there a established, or does it need to be established in here? It sounds ridiculous, but what an ambulance actually is? Because I did a little research, and there's like paramedics in other cities in Louisiana that have first responder ambulances that are quite different than like the full ones that Acadian might have. Or
Right.
is there ever Mr. Parker, do you know, is there a definition of actually what an ambulance is?
And maybe it just needs to be an EMS type.
There is
Okay.
in our ordinance.
It is, okay.
Section 42-365 has a definition of an ambulance.
365, okay, good. So it's not in here, but all right, excellent. Thank
And
you.
we'll verify that to make sure if that needs to be updated because of technology when that was actually put in. We'll verify that, Mr. Mangus, just to make sure that
Yeah,
definition
Thank
still
you.
meets today's time.
good. And that's one of the big things that we're trying to do is update our codes, so we don't run into issues. So thank you for this.
So Ricky.
Yes, sir.
So 2 people can inspect it physically, 2 people that we choose to. Is it the chair and the vice chair? Is that how we're going to do it? Look at it rather?
If the ambulances need to be inspected, let's say, and Acadian or whoever the ambulance provider is could not provide us with
Right.
certification through the state that those
Right.
ambulances have been inspected, the secondary requirement would be that our OEP director and the appointed fire chief do the inspection.
You answered my next question then. Okay. All right. Thank you. All right.
Yes, sir.
I have a question, Mr.
Yes.
Chairman. John.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, question.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes.
It sounds like you've proposed 2 things. One, you want to change the appointments or how the appointments are established on the board. And 2, you want to require that the parish, that board oversee the inspection, either to make sure it was done by the state or to do it themselves. Am I correct so far?
That's correct. And that's exactly the way it's been.
Let me ask you a question then. Back to the first thing.
Okay.
Can you tell me right now how that board is created, how it's made up of? Is there, currently, right now, it's the coroner's office serves on there?
Yes, sir. It's in that ordinance. You're looking right in front of you, but I'll read
what's
it
in
out to you.
blue, I'm looking at it, it don't say coroner's office on here. I'm thinking this might be the new ordinance that you.
It's the striked out part, the parish coroner or assistant that is stricken out. So that's the way it read before,
Okay.
and
So
we're taking the
Was it
coroner
8?
out of it.
So currently, it's the coroner and the office director of OEP. And is that the only 2 that you're changing?
Actually, we're not changing the OEP. It's just, the only one we're changing for as the appointment is the coroner. It's going to go to 1 council member or designee.
Okay,
We're adding, instead of 8 members, it's 9 members.
okay,
And that will also be going to a council member or a designee.
okay.
So everyone else that's been on the committee stays on the
So they
committee.
just changed
I'm
OEP.
not asking, I guess
to
my question is,
Homeland
is there
Security.
any representation? Does the sheriff's department have it? See, now that's what I'm asking. So
it's
you
in
got
there.
the coroner's
So the
office has an appointment, the OEP, the sheriff's office.
Yep.
Who else is what
911.
911 gets an appointment
So
right now?
the parish will create a quality assurance panel consisting of, and I'm going to just kind of read it the way it was
Well, I was curious
originally.
about right now, Ricky. I want to know about right now.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, go ahead.
Right? You want to know right now.
What we have now, yes.
Consisting of 8 members, responsible for reviewing insurance related and the quality of medical services and response times supplied under this agreement. The specified membership of the panel shall consist of the director of OEP for the parish, which is parish director of Homeland Security, etc., the 911 director, LPSO, Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office, or his designee, the president of the Fire Chiefs Association, the parish coroner or his assistant, 2 appointed fire chiefs, 1 parish council member. So I think that's pretty much it.
Okay.
As far as the number of members, the rest of it is just general stuff. So none of that's going to change.
Let me ask
The only thing
you.
that changes is the coroner moving over to a.
So let me get this right. So right currently, it's the coroner gets one, the OEP is a board member, the sheriff gets an appointment, 911 gets an appointment, fire board
yeah.
president.
The appointee, the fire chief's appointment.
Who is the fire chief's appointment?
So as I said before.
No, let me rephrase. Who's the fire chief? Is there a chief?
So before there's X amount of fire chiefs within the parish.
Okay.
Those fire chiefs sit down together at various meetings throughout the year.
And that's called
And they
a
have a fire chiefs. Yeah.
association?
So they make an appointment within themselves to represent them as a parish.
Okay. So they get,
Past that, you get 2 other fire chiefs that are appointed to it.
Okay, so currently that association appoints someone,
Right.
and then 2 more fire chiefs in Livingston Parish each have a member on that board.
That's great.
And then, a councilman, and then there's current 1 councilman.
That's correct.
Okay, so the only thing you want to change is to get rid of the coroner's office, have an appointment,
That's correct. He's pretty busy,
and you want to,
unfortunately.
add 1 council member to that.
So the coroner is going to be removed.
Okay,
We will replace him with a council member.
okay,
Instead of 8 members, we're going to make it 9.
okay,
That 9th position has no one in it right now. It will also be the same structure. It will be a council member or our designee.
The parish council's designee.
That's right.
okay, so.
But voted by the council.
So get rid of the coroner's office and then add
One more.
1 more council appointment.
Yeah, so I guess the way it words now, you're going to have the coroner.
No,
I'm
Okay, now.
just saying you'll have the coroner. It'll go away, be replaced by a council member or a designee voted by this council. The empty spot that is not created, if this ordinance passes, it will be created. That one will also have a council member and the or any appointee or designated appointee voted on by this council.
okay,
So nothing really changes with it. The only other thing it changed was the fact that we clarified who the chairman and who the vice chairman was. Or I did, sorry.
That makes good.
so the the fire chief association will still have an appointment,
Mm-hmm.
okay?
How often do they, Mr. Goff, how often do they meet?
It just depends. They call the meeting, but I think they try to do once a quarter, but it's not necessary. It's when something comes up, if there's a complaint or something of that nature that they need to hear. Chris, you know,
Yeah, because that would be my question is, Ms. Teal, they would fall under the Louisiana laws as far as meetings, right? They have to get their... Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Anderson? Can you come up?
Are y'all having questions? Y'all good?
I think...
John, you good?
John, Mr. Wascom, are you good?
Yeah, I understand that, and the other
Mr.
thing was the inspection. Okay, go ahead, I'll come back to that.
Mr. Erdy, are you good with Mr. Goff right now? Yes. Mr. Parker? Okay, thank you, Mr. Goff.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Chris Anderson, Homeland Security Director, 20355 Government Boulevard. So, this is the first I heard of this, so I'm here with one other of the Quality Assurance Panel meeting members, is Chief Joe Prokowski. I do like that we're doing some housekeeping. That's what it looks like this is.
Yes.
However, I was not consulted about any of these changes. So in reference to some of it, I'd like to address some of it to you. Dr. Coe and I have not spoken, and if if Mr. Goff and him has spoken, I don't know. I did speak to Jim Brown. He is the coroner's designee. And I'll tell you why he's important on our board is because this parish, whenever I took over as Homeland Security Director, did not have a mass casualty plan in place. Dr. Coe and Jim Brown has successfully done that with us, and that is a vital piece of information that correlates to the ambulance. Because if we have a plane crash or a bus turnover, we got 200 people to deal with that's deceased or needs to be transported. That's something the panel has discussed. So I'll tell you a lot of this too. In the cleanup side, whenever we met every month whenever we first took over here with Randy as the parish president, and we rewrote the entire ambulance contract from the prior administration. That contract came to y'all. It was reviewed and approved for Randy to sign. In that contract, it covers a lot of this stuff that talks about, that was not on the agenda, the specifically the 397 inspection of ambulances. It says in our contract that yes, we accept the state's certification, if you call it, but it also states in there that at any given time, the quality assurance panel could go and do a random inspection. And the reason we wrote that into the new agreement that we signed with them is that it put them on notice that at any given time, I can stop an ambulance at the hospital and I can say, hey, we're calling for an inspection, because we might think that they might not have all the stuff that's necessary on the ambulance, right? So I think what we need to do, and having another council member on the quality panel is fine. I'm okay with that. I'm just not in agreements of striking the corner until, Dr. Coe and I have a conversation, because Jim and I spoke today, and he's like, yeah, I'd like to stay there. So that's the designee at this point in time.
Well, he could always be appointed. It doesn't have to be three
Sure.
council members.
Sure. And the reason I'll tell you, the other council member was, I don't think y'all was discussed, it's Councilman Coates that's on there. So Councilman Coates was selected specifically to serve on this board because he was a past state trooper. And dealing specifically with Acadian like myself in the field, had some inside knowledge of how things really work out in the real world, what's going on when things happen. So Dean brought some good things to the table. And one of the things that he just brought up to advance a little bit for y'all is the fact about the meetings. So we thought the quality assurance panel should just meet like it's always been meeting. So we brought it to the attention of the attorney last month. And they just notified us that, yes, we're supposed to have open public meetings.
No.
That's the actual
That's-
ethical way to do it. So
That's what I thought. Which attorney was that? Was that Mr. Cascio?
Al Gerard.
Al Gerard, okay.
Gerard. We brought of course, I spoke to Parish President Delat, told him what the concern was. He said, give the contract that we actually signed to the attorney, let him review it. And he said, yes, according to the contract with Acadian, we should be having a meeting like this with Robert's Rules of Order. So effective immediately, that's going to start occurring. Now, yes, the quality assurance panel only meets when it's needed. So we met every month for the first 12 months to get that contract to y'all to sign the new contract. So that's done. And a lot of that verbiage, I think, needs to be added to the ordinance cleanup before we pass this. I think we need to also go back to that contract and say we need to put some of that verbiage into this to make sure that we're not saying one thing in the ordinance and the contract says something else.
Well, is there any contradiction that you see? I know it's just.
Well,
prima
one of them
facie here, but-
was talking about the inspection of ambulances. We do have some verbiage in there about state. We will accept the state report, and it says that we can also at any given time provide a spot inspection and do a spot inspection any time. That's not in there. So I think that kind of needs to be done as well.
But nothing in here precludes that, though, right? Doesn't say that you can.
No, it doesn't. I just think it's, if we're going to clean the bill up, is what I'm saying, is that we go ahead and put the stuff we need to have in there.
Chair recognizes Mr. Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't see anything that precludes it. I think if you have an ordinance and then you have a contract that has additional language beyond the ordinance, in my opinion, the contract will control there. So
Right.
you'd still be able to do it.
Okay.
And that may be why, if they have to meet on a regular basis, Dr. Coe has expressed, not being, required to be on it.
Yeah, so we don't meet on a regular basis. We only meet in accordance to the contract again whenever there's either an issue or we need to start reviewing the contract for the renewal, or if there's something we need to bring forth as an issue to the council.
Mr. Chris, how do you
Yes,
currently, how's the board currently appoint their chairman or and vice chair?
Well, the parish, it always says in the ordinance that I chaired the board.
Okay, so that's in our ordinance that the OEP director does chair?
Well, it kind of just says in there, kind of like he read it to you, it says that's it's eight people, and it says, it shall consist of the director of the parish, the 911 director. And I've always called the meeting, had the agenda
Okay,
meeting.
so you've
and had
just
it
always
upstairs.
chaired it and?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. And then do you have a vice chair as well currently, or?
No, we never really went under the Robert Rules of
I
Order
see.
because we just sat down at a table and had a
I see.
discussion about what the,
And you
would the
don't have a
parish
set
benefit from?
schedule, regularly scheduled meeting. You called meetings as they're needed. I
Yes, sir,
understand that.
So the meetings, like I said, really occurred at the beginning of this new council. We banged out that new contract to make sure it was up to date because it was so far out of date. And once we presented it, we really have had no reason to have another meeting.
So, but that contract, from what you said earlier, right, it stipulates that you have meetings.
No, it's the contract that the parish made with
Right.
Acadian to say that they would provide services. In that contract, it states, you know, like I said earlier, that we will accept the state's certification, those type things. That's what we put in the verbiage.
But it said when you have a meeting, it has to be,
It didn't say anything about any of the meetings. It just said we would host a meeting if there was an issue that someone brought forth to the board. If they came to us and said, hey, I have a problem, Acadian treated me unfairly, or they charged me wrongfully, they would bring that to our attention. We would then call a meeting at that time to review it.
and so it's not under open meetings, no agendas, or only,
No, we just recently found that out, that we need to start doing that. I told you, we brought it to the attorney, and
Right.
that's what we're going to start doing.
so that
if
would
we
be
have
the
to hold it.
change. I think we should,
Mhm.
Mr. Goff, do you think we should make a change to this to require that they meet? Just a second, Mr. Anderson, let Mr. Goff come back up. Should we put in there that they're required to meet certain number of times and follow the,
I think it's been perfectly fine the way it's been. They call it when they need. And I do apologize for Chris for me not getting to him. And going over all of this with him. I didn't think it was that. I did talk to Dr. Cole personally, and Dr. Cole was fine with it. I've known Jim Brown forever, and I'd be first one to recommend him to one of those open appointments, because I don't think that the rest of the council is going to want to. Anyone else on the council is going to want. We're probably going to need a designee.
Right.
I have no problem with that as well.
and you have a wealth of experience, and you were talking about Mr. Coates being
That's correct.
state police, but you as being in the fire department for,
So one of these things with the caveat
years.
here is that, as Chris said, they hammered out the contract when we came into office, right? And that's the way it's, as far as I know, if I'm not mistaken, it's 4-year time frame. So my desire is to start hammering that contract out before the next election. Like, start working on that in the same time frame, I guess, that we're running for office, to where it's kind of has some dialogue in it, where the same OEP director, same people as council, et cetera, it can still be approved at the first meeting, or when those council come on with their recommendation. But like I said originally when I stood up here, that the first thing that this is that when Baton Rouge General comes in and there's an entity there that can transport one of our constituents goes to Baton Rouge General, and she's using that as an example. They go there, well, they have their own transport units from one unit to the other, and then they need to go from there to Baton Rouge. Right now, they cannot do that. So moving forward, when the new contract comes in, that's some of the dialogue that needs to be taken into consideration. It wasn't there before, no reason for it to be in there.
mm-hmm.
But that's just one of the things that kind of got it started. And then the other thing is just if there is an issue out there, I've heard of some different issues, we just want to make sure we can address those. So I knew Dr. Cole had his plate full with everything he's got going on, so I reached out to him and asked him, and he said no problem. He didn't need to be on there. If they needed him, they could call him. From Jim Brown's standpoint, I have no problem myself personally making a recommendation that he be one of our designees to the council, to that board. The same thing with the contract, and the fact that it's, in the past, it's always been before it was rewritten this last time, it was that it had to be inspected by the parish. And it got put in the contract. So some of this housekeeping got fixed in the contract. I just feel that it needs to be in the ordinance that states that they have to be inspected, and if it's from the state, that it's there. Because this contract ends in 28.
Yeah.
So we want it as law. I don't want it as, and me personally in Ricky's world, I don't want it as the contract. I want it as the law states that if you have an ambulance, it needs to be inspected. I love the fact that you can pull it over. Love it. Pull over to McDonald's, pull in there, check them out. Love that. Don't want to change it. Same thing with moving forward to new contract, and that just gets forgotten. It's just it needs to be part of the ordinance. And then just, more voices, the better.
I agree, but I think we do need to come up with, in concordance with the other boards in the parish. I mean, the open meetings laws, we've had a litany of those against us, so you should meet on a regular schedule.
Well, I don't have a problem, like, if y'all want to just reference the open meetings law statute in there, that this committee shall follow the open, it's already been established that they got to follow it. Dean brought that up and it's been established, but if y'all want to put it in the ordinance and state it, that they are required to follow that guideline, then I think that's fine.
That's fine. That might be better than saying that they will meet so many times.
And they meet whenever they wish, and they got to post it. They got to publicly post it. They got to put their agenda out and the whole bit there's just a lot of times that there's really no reason for this committee to actually meet.
Right.
But as it gets closer to contracts and things of that nature, then they need to meet a lot.
I do appreciate.
And if there's an issue that one of our constituents has in this parish, then, Ricky's number's here. Call me. We'll get to the bottom of it.
I very much appreciate you bringing this to our attention, Mr. Goff, and also Mr. Anderson, about the mass casualty. I was thinking about that with the fire situation. I mean, also the I-12's been closed in parts of it 3 times in the last 10 days. So yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Pre-planned, that's the word.
Do we have any other questions, gentlemen?
I have one, but Mr. Dwayne may have something. If you want, he's raising his hand out there.
I recognize.
Dwayne Mesh, Acadian Ambulance Service, 318 Cherokee Rose Lane, Covington, Louisiana. Just a couple of things to add to that. The contract that we have with the parish does coincide with your ordinance, and as you said, sir, it in a lot of cases goes above and beyond that. And that's our contract to you guys. One of the things that we do in the response criteria, which is what we're measured by, one of the key measurements of that is those response times. We turn those in quarterly, and those go to the chairman for the QAP so that he distributes to the other committee members so they can see what the response times have been. We report that quarterly. They review it. If they find that there's question or anything, it gives him the ability to call a meeting. And then as we come to you guys in June, we typically come up, we ask permission to run a membership drive, and we also present stuff to Miss Sandy, who distributes, and that's for us to get an operational permit. In that permit is where you find where the state has inspected those ambulances, and we supply all that information along with other stuff like insurance and all those other requirements. Those come to you through that process. And then lastly, the contract, several terms ago, it was then decided that the council who was sitting wanted the contract to go through, the end of June for that reason, so that you didn't have a new sitting council where it was all new council and nobody really understood the process. So that's why our contract term will expire, as he said, in 28, but it will expire June the 30th of 28. So that gives time for the sitting council to go through that stuff, make those recommendations, vote upon it, so it's in place should it be all new council. And those were some of the reasons that it was that way.
If I can ask a question, with this quality assurance panel, would the chairman know response times? Because like right now I can call Mr. Joe or Mr. James Wascom, and I can say, how long does it take on average? And he can tell me that. They can tell me that right away. And 2 calls in my district with fire protection, 4 in the last couple weeks. They were I know they have a lot more than two, but two that I know of. They were 8 minutes from the time the 911 call was made by the time the first engine arrived, which I think is incredible. And I'm not saying I'm holding you to that standard, but we don't want vague sundries. I don't want to have to call Acadian Ambulance in general and go through a switchboard and find somebody who will say, we do pretty good.
No,
Yeah.
those are supplied. That's the report that we give to the quality assurance panel, is what our average response time was for that quarter on those
Right.
emergencies. Now, these are true 911 emergencies where it requires lights and sirens to get to the patient. Those that may call and say, I fell and it was 4 days ago and my hip's a little hurt and we just want to go make sure it's not broken, those aren't measured in this, because they don't require a lights and siren emergency response.
Yeah, in the definitions, it mentions that. Okay. Thank you.
Yes. But those are measured. And then if he has questions, or even, you don't have to, we tell the fire chiefs regularly in our visits that we make on a daily basis with chiefs, hey, look, if you've got one, you've got concerns, why it took us so long? Was it that we had 6 emergencies within a 30-minute window? Or any of that? Real time is better for us. We rather them call so we can look at that. And are we always going to be 15 minutes or less? No, there are some times where we're not, but there is usually reasons behind that, and that's the information that we supply to them at any time they want. And this last QAP that met, they wanted all concerns that came from John Q. Citizen to the council, whatever, to have that avenue where it could be kept on file. They had records of it. That way it goes through the quality assurance panel. And those are typically when they would call us if there was a problem so that we can meet and address.
When was the last QAP?
We just had one a couple of weeks ago. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify that, but certainly.
I would
here
like
for
the
any
statistics on that.
I like a question, Mr. Dwayne, before
Yeah.
you sit
Yes.
down real quick,
Mr.
Ricky, and I'll
Waskom.
let you. Mr. Goff had brought up something earlier about a hospital coming into Juban. What was the name of it, Ricky? Baton Rouge General coming into Juban Road, I believe. And they would do their own transport, and our ordinance would not allow them to do that, evidently. Can you?
So the reason.
How does that apply with you?
And I'm going to assume, because I haven't spoken to him about that, but I'm assuming the reason he says that is because it does say in the ordinance and in our contract that we would be named as the exclusive provider for both the emergency and non-emergency transportation. And the whole reason behind that is there is no subsidy to Acadian Ambulance. So in order to make the system work, where you have a provider, you can hold one company accountable, and also if we don't transport a patient, or we go to an accident, we respond with 4 advanced life support ambulances, what have you, and nobody goes to the hospital, we don't get paid for that. We have no revenue for that because there is no tax base to support it. So by having an exclusive for the emergencies, the non-emergencies, it helps us to provide that service. Whereas if we're just sitting and not rolling wheels and not transporting patients, or we go to calls, or we go to the football game, all those things we do as a public service but aren't reimbursed from. And we depend on that. So that's why the contract was written the way it was for exclusive rights
Okay.
to do that.
And-
And in return, we guarantee those response times. Yes, I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No. I was just, and I may have to get Mr. Goff's thought. He was saying that the hospital uses their own. Do hospitals use their own? I didn't know. I thought.
So the Baton Rouge General, unlike Lady of the Lake, has an ambulance that currently, they're not in Livingston, but they are in Ascension. They will go into Ascension's, they have a campus there, get a patient to bring them back to their hospital. for further treatment.
So it's really not more, as much for emergency as it is for just
in a facility. Well, it could be. It could be someone gets in an accident and has a head injury and ends up at the, let's use the lake since they're presently here. Someone grabs them off the interstate, runs down the street to the hospital, and they have a head injury, and they need service that this Livingston campus is incapable of. We provide that service right now because Lady of the Lake doesn't have anything like what the general is proposing. But it could be an emergency, or it could be that someone has pneumonia and they have something else and they need to go to the Baton Rouge General for specialty care. Then it's non-emergency type service.
Well, sir, in the future, when the general does get here, who would supersede between you and Baton Rouge General? I'm sorry. If an accident occurred.
So I've not had any discussion with the Baton Rouge General. I'm not sure what, and I don't operate in Ascension Parish either. I can't answer specific to them. But if I understand correctly, what Mr. Goff is saying is that they would want to move the patient from the campus here to the campus in Baton Rouge. And I guess at that point in time, once we know more, I guess that's how the committee or the Homeland Security Director and the Quality Assurance Panel would come up with whatever that might be.
If I might interject, I haven't read your contract recently, so I don't, I'm assuming it has exclusivity to your company. However, if you have to provide that, that doesn't say that you couldn't allow Baton Rouge General or whatever if they wish to do that, but they would just have to clear it through you, almost like subletting, if that is
Or a mutual aid agreement or however that
cooperative
may be.
endeavor.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It'll be new territory for me because the parishes I operate in don't have a similar situation. And I'm not certain what Baton Rouge General will bring to the table either.
But many major hospitals across the state do provide ambulance services.
Yes.
Yeah.
In New Orleans, East Jefferson Hospital has that. But
Yeah.
again, I don't operate in that territory.
Right.
Thank you.
Just to clarify a few things, I think it's like a hospital Uber. They can just transport their own people. So I just want to give you a heads up. So I did add Miss Sandy to the QAP's quarterly report,
Okay.
and that is free for her to distribute to all of the council. That's not restricted. However, some of the information in it may be proprietary, so be careful about releasing that without having it reviewed by the attorney, I would suggest, because that's not something we
Thank you.
release. So yes, you have access to all of that information through Miss Sandy, and you're getting emails, right? Okay, so we did put her on the email address as well. And I think that was it. One other thing? I think that was all. Did y'all have any other questions?
No, I think we can have some.
Okay.
Mr. Joe, did you?
No, good. That's you, sir. In my case, I have both. I'm still better looking than him. Joe Kozrowski, Fire District 5, Livingston Parish, Fire Chief, 10783 Highway 1033, Denham Springs. Guys, I have the second largest population in Livingston Parish that reside within my district. Okay, and I sit on the Quality Assurance Board. And I just want to throw some numbers out there because I'm not sure if y'all grasp the magnitude of what we deal with. These guys answer over 15,000 emergency calls a year, not the non-emergencies. Canadian Ambulance on an average of 365 days a year, and I'm not trying to sell them, but I'm just trying to let you know how we work with these guys. On an average of 365 days a year, they average 41 to 42 calls a day in a 24-hour period. Now, granted, some of them end up being junk, and we don't like to go to them either. We had a great meeting at our last meeting to try and use some of their dispatch services as well as our 911 board to filter through some of the non-emergent calls
Because we answer 4,000 calls a year in our fire district. And District 4 answers 8,000 calls a year. And it, you know, we can't keep up. They can't keep up with the non-emergent calls by ourselves. So we're trying to combine their services and our services so that we can cut some of these non-emergency calls down with toothaches and stump my toe and different things. But the magnitude is over 15,000 calls a year that these guys answer. And yeah, sometimes they slip and sometimes we complain. And I've never called for a meeting that we didn't have. Never called them and had them not address what the issue was. Now, the Baton Rouge General is going to be in my district. And, you know, they do non-emergency transports now in Baton Rouge. And occasionally you'll see one of their ambulances bring somebody into the parish from Baton Rouge. You know, I think we'll have to issue a permit of some sort through y'all, through Randy, that says you have a contract to do X, Y, and Z, you know, unless there's some extreme emergency that pops up and a catastrophic thing. But, you know, I think that's where we need to go is they have to have some kind of permit to operate. And, you know, and I'm not against that. I think we just need to make sure, just as we did with them, we lay out a contract. And I think the ordinance is great, but I think we need to definitely make sure we incorporate the contract that we have into that ordinance so we don't contradict each other and then try and figure out which one trumps which. You know, I'd like to make sure that when we review it and all the language complements each other. Thank you, guys.
Maybe a quick recommendation. I don't know how the board feels about it, but, you know, maybe the quality assurance panel can meet and pick up helping us write an ordinance that they could bring to this ordinance committee, and then we could look it over and then recommend that to the parish council, because I mean they know they know what's important in that contract more so than I do, and I'm thinking that they could probably Ricky work with them and put together and help us write an ordinance that y'all everybody's good with, and then bring it to the council.
So let me be real clear here, because it seems like we're going in different directions on what this is. Not rocket science, right? I'm not reinventing the wheel and trying to cause Acadian or fire district or anything like that any kind of difficulty. We have a good system that has evolved over many, many, many years, and we are continuing to grow and grow and grow. And the latest thing that they have been trying to address, and it is so our fire districts can be more efficient. And that's what Joe was referring to, how many calls they all go on. So 15,000 calls Acadian goes on. So I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. Acadian's here for a profit. They got to survive. And that's what he's saying because of this contract and having some exclusivity, so to speak. They got to have some of those things. And all I'm saying is now Baton Rouge General is coming in as something that in the future we're going to need to look at. If we can work that out now, hey, that's great. But we don't have a system that's broke, okay? Right. We don't. So the latest thing that they've looked at is the fact that Fire District 4 just purchased 2 new fire trucks from U.S. Fire Apparatus, which is in this parish, and they spent over $1 million for the trucks and equipped, $1,020,000 each. So if I got a fire truck that's worth $1 million and we get a call for a stump tow, I really would rather that truck be able to stay in the firehouse and not run up and down the road for a stump tow. And that's what they're trying to work on when they're talking about the dispatch with Acadian, because it comes down to who's going to make the call whether you should go or not go. Like, is it a lights and sirens call? So they're working on trying to get the right calls that need the help dispatched to the fire departments.
So when
and
you
the
say
ones that don't need,
you mean the quality assurance panel?
No, Acadian. It was
okay.
It took place at the last quality assurance panel. So it's a collaboration between the fire chiefs, the quality assurance panel, and Acadian to try to address all the emergency calls. Okay, so if we can knock down 10% of the calls but not put anyone in jeopardy because we're going for a stump tow or whatever, then that's what we need to do. So that's exactly what they're doing right now. And as far as the Baton Rouge General, I have had no conversation with Baton Rouge General. I know we keep bringing it up. I'm the one that brought it up. But that's a scenario, right, and Mr. Wayne's right. When you read it in the contract, I read it as exclusivity.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that they shouldn't get exclusivity, but it needs to be moving forward. This contract needs to have some language in it. The contract needs to have some language in it that allows, medical facilities, when approved by both parties, to be allowed to transport transportation, because hopefully Lake will do the same thing, because it all comes down at the end of the day for Rick's World is our constituents. If you need emergency, we want to make sure I'm going to get to it. We want to make sure the fire truck's going. And we want to make sure the ambulance is going. And you're getting transported. Right? Mm-hmm. If you got to be transported again and it can save you a few dollars, so be it. It's all about the constituent. So I'm going to take the constituent part of it and the calls. So this committee and all this information you're talking about that Miss Sandy is getting now, et cetera, I requested a bunch of information through Acadian, and they were more than happy to compile that for me. I did the same thing through 911. They were more than happy to compile that for me. So the point of this is to make sure our constituents, because I'm going to be very honest, sometimes Acadian gets a black eye for something that they had no control over. And we know the social media, it just takes off.
Right.
So this committee is in the same position to make sure that if that black eye was legit or if it was not. They sit down and they go through these calls when somebody has a complaint. They have a mechanism. You reach out to them. That's happening right now today. So this contract was put in place over our ordinance to tighten all of that up a little bit. And I don't think that the contract and all this other crazy, I think we should just tighten up the ordinance a little bit. And all this is doing is just allowing a little bit more constituents to be on there, et cetera, as far as the council, have some more say on it. And, so we can continue to move forward, because we're the 7th largest parish in the state or something like that.
Fastest growing, I think
160,000
Yeah.
people. So this thing needs to continue to evolve.
All right, Mr. Wascom, you had a question?
Yeah, you mentioned earlier, and I know this is really getting off of what the agenda item is, but you brought it up.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you roll a $1 million fire truck to a stump tow? Why do that?
So
I mean, you say we need to stop. Well, that's the problem. Well, why are you doing that in the first place?
So we get there and it's a stump tow, but the call may come in as my mom slipped and fall and she's having difficulty breathing, et cetera. When the person on Acadian may be able to define that a little bit better clarity. But if not, we got to roll, stump tow or not stump tow.
But why take a $1 million fire truck?
That's the first unit out. If you go there and you get a fire call, which is next door, you're going to show up with a pickup truck. That's just part of it. And I understand that it's why would you roll it? Well, we don't have like sprint units, or we don't have that type system. The unit rolling out of the station is the fire apparatus, and it has medical stuff on it. So when you roll a call, you roll an engine. That's just the way it is. But you're right. You're absolutely right. Your thought process there is, why would we roll that? We need to minimize that process.
And that would be an in-house decision, policy making for the fire departments, wouldn't it? I mean, that's not the council.
I'm going to get
thing, is it?
15 calls. I'm going to send them to you. You tell me which one not to go on. And that's what happens is you get a call, and depending on that call comes in, Acadian has some, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not trying to jump in the middle of this, but Acadian has a lot of people that are trained on the 911 system in more of a medical field, and they may be able to help us dissect which call is really not necessary. It's not a lights and sirens call.
If I can interject here,
And they're working on that right now.
Acadian Ambulance provides a great service. And if we think about this for a second, if Mr. Joe, you could probably answer this. If Acadian wasn't here, if for some reason in 28 they decided, we don't want to be in Livingston Parish anymore, and they pulled out, we are obligated by the state to provide, as the governing body, right? The fire departments are to provide these emergency services. So, how much would it cost us to actually do that? I don't think we could. So,
The system
Right.
is not
broken.
broken.
I agree.
It's just house cleaning and adding 2 people.
Yeah, Mr. Joe wants to say something. Yeah, I agree, Mr. Go.
I have had conversations at great length with the sheriff, and we've discussed this issue of dispatch. What we have now in the 911 center are call takers. They take the call. If it's a medical call, they automatically transfer it to Acadian, who has medically certified people screening these calls. We don't. Jason has made it clear that he is on board with trying to hire medically trained and fire department specific dispatch. Problem is they rotate around in a room and depend on where they need them. So we may get a different dispatcher every day for a week or two because somebody's out sick or something happened. But he's committed to trying to sit down and work out where we can hire dispatchers just like Acadian has that are medically certified, that can ask the right questions about a call to find out if they fell 3 or 4 days ago. I was in a car accident 4 days ago and now my back hurts. Well, that's not an emergency for a fire truck. And John, to answer your question, the reason we roll that truck, they run 1-2 men to a station most of the time. I run 1 man to a station in 4 different stations. If the man goes out and he's in a Sprint truck and we get a real call because we know we're going to a medical call where somebody has a headache or something, and a fire breaks out, well, we're going to divert that truck. And we're going to, then we're going to try and get Acadian just to go by themselves. And we're going to go, but if you don't have the truck with you, you got to turn around and go back, and there may be a bad wreck on the interstate. And minutes count. I mean, that's somebody's life sometimes. You can't turn around and say, well, I got to go back and get another truck. Because I brought the little medical truck when I needed the Hearst equipment on that big truck. So our first out trucks are always going to be, unfortunately, that $1 million truck that they get in wrecks. They shouldn't be out there running up and down the highway all day long for calls that shouldn't be emergency calls. I agree with that. But until we get a 911 system that screens the calls and takes out the bogus calls from the legitimate calls, we have to run them all. We're getting paid by the taxpayers, and when they call, you have to give them the service, even though 50% of our calls are not emergency calls. But,
You don't have, our fire departments here don't have like paramedic trucks?
No.
Okay.
But we have paramedics, some of them, we have paramedics, basics, we have first responders.
Right.
Everybody is some sort of medical training level. We're capable of administering first aid, CPR on scene.
Right.
We just don't have the funds to put $1 million ambulance on the road and $1 million worth of insurance coverage, and that paramedic is getting paid $40 an hour.
Yeah.
Plus you have to have an EMT and all kind of, we just don't have. And here's the deal, guys. So we buy 6 ambulances for this parish. We fund 6 ambulances. And we're always running, and they can attest, and we run 5 or 6 calls at a time, sometimes in my district by itself. And we've got 160,000 people out here in 11 fire districts. So we may have 3 or 4 calls running. When we send those 6 ambulances to Baton Rouge, to the lake, or to the general, or anything, who's coming to replace them? And then where you go? If we don't have a budget of a fleet of trucks, like or any other ambulance company that's out there. We cannot possibly supply that. Now, if we had a metropolitan area like Baton Rouge and had the funds, that'd be different, but we don't. You know, we're all operating on tight budgets.
Right.
There's no money for transport.
I agree.
You know, so, I mean.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I think what you're alluding to, getting down to, there's no way to distinguish over the telephone what's what when you decide to go out. You know, we're talking about trucks.
That's, Mr. Erdy, that is correct. We don't at our 911 center. Acadian has a better grip on that, and they automatically get the 911 calls. So we're working with our 911 center and their call center to let them filter some of these calls and go, look, guys, this is not an emergency call.
Right.
And, you know, for lack of better words, you watch it on TV sometimes and they say 911, what is your emergency? And they tell you something and they go, I'm sorry, but this is not an emergency call. But our call takers are not trained to ask those questions and Jason is worried about a liability that because our call takers are not certified to do that if he doesn't send somebody and it turns into something else, where the lawsuit and the liability is going to fall.
That's what I was
And that's-
getting at. Yes, sir.
That's the other thing with, you know, now if we have certified people, they're still going to send us to a few calls that are not appropriate, but some of these calls will be addressed and we won't be going.
Yeah, we have to follow up on them no matter
Correct.
what.
Correct.
No matter what. Okay, thank you.
And anybody else? John, I answered it. John, I answered your question.
You answered, Mr. Wascom? Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Parker wanted to say something?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I was looking at, earlier we discussed with Mr. Goff adding a tagline after this proposed amendment to 42-397A, stating that we will accept the state inspection in lieu of inspection by the chair and vice chair. I did some digging into the ordinances while we've been talking, and the very next section, 42-397B, does say that the Bureau of EMS, which is the state inspection, will be accepted as the annual unless an issue is reported. So I don't think we'll need that amendment if it is the will of the committee to pass this on to the full council.
Yeah, I don't, thank you, Mr. Parker. I don't see anything egregious in here. This is more what Mr. Goff has proposed, to my eyes, kind of a housekeeping. We'll have time before the next council meeting because this won't make it on the agenda. This won't be till March at the earliest if we have a resolution to push this through to the full council. If Dr. Coe needs to be consulted or what have you. Do we have a motion to send this to the council? Do we have a second? Okay, we have we'll have discussion if we need it. We have a motion and a second to forward this through with possible changes to the full council. Mr. Wascom, you had a question?
Yes, so the recommendation is to approve this ordinance or to send it to the parish council for introduction. So the two things that this does is, one, it establishes the new appointments, the criteria for it to be appointment. And in this ordinance currently, it says that the coroners, that he don't have a spot here that the coroner would serve. So my question is, if we adopt this to send this to the council, then we're getting rid of the coroner's office appointment. So, I mean, do y'all want to, we got to deal with that. I mean, do you
We could
want to add
recommend a
that back
change.
in it? Or do you want to send it to it without the office of home, without the coroner's appointment?
Mr. Goff, could we make a compromise that we add an extra council member, which would be two, and then if the coroner wishes?
I had already spoken to Dr. Coe, and if Dr. Coe changes his mind, which I don't think he is, if he changes his mind and said he has to have an appointment on this committee, then we can address that at the ordinance. As far as Jim Brown, just like I just got through telling Chris, and I told y'all before, I have nothing against Jim Brown at all. I would be elated that if he was one of our designees. So he is the designee for the coroner's office now. So I don't, just moving forward, no matter who the council and everything is going forward, if we need the coroner's called to have input. But we have a designee and a representative. And if, that's who's representing the coroner's office now. So I have no problem. I'll be the first one to make the recommendation that we put Jim Brown on there as our designee. I'd also like to say that I'm willing to serve on that committee as well. So if you blink your eyes, then this is kind of where you're at. Again, if Dr. Coe changes his mind and says he wants to be on it, then we'll address that and move forward. But it's the coroner's office.
Is that okay with
You
you,
know what I'm
Mr.
saying?
Wascom? Because it could be changed at the,
What you're saying is adopt the ordinance, leaving the coroner's office off of the requirement. So they don't officially have an appointment, but maybe one of the council members who has an appointment will appoint the appointer. Is that what you're
It's
saying?
not there is no appointments by the council.
There's three
Right.
council members that get appointment.
But there's not an individual council that has to make that appointment. It can be appointed by any council member from anywhere in the parish, as long as this council makes a favorable vote that we put John Wascom on there as a citizen, just like we did the other night with this gentleman, and thank you again for being here. The same thing I said with Jim. I can't sit here and say, let's put Jim on there, right? I would say I'm supporting him. And
Well,
I
you
would like
could
to
if
recommend
you
him.
could, if you made one of the requirements to be a coroner's office to have an appointment.
But then you leave it up to the coroner. All I'm saying is the council is the one that's voting on the contract. The council's the one that voting on the ordinances and setting the ordinance and making it law. So the council should have the majority of the voice and the say in it. So they make the appointments. The reason the coroner was put on there years ago was because of the medical status that we needed. And we're well past that part of it. Dr. Coe's a busy man.
That's why
That's
he
why he's got a
appoints Jim
designee.
Brown on there.
So again, I'm going to say right now, I'm 100% behind Jim Brown remaining on this compliance committee. But if you roll the clock forward, this council needs to have as much voice as possible on the direction of where our emergency medical fields and things are going. We need knowledge from the coroner. As a doctor, if we need it, we call him. But as a representative and establishing, our protocol and everything as well, we lean on everything that we can get. And so
I have another question. Is the contract that the parish has with Acadian, is that contract with Quality Assurance Panel or is it with the Livingston Parish Council?
you voted on it in
So
June.
it is with the council.
It
That's
is.
my point that I'm making.
That's
It's
correct.
not the quality assurance. It's with
That's
the
right.
council.
So we have the ultimate and final say. And one of the best things that was done was moving it to June. Because before, you just come in here and boom. But as new council members, as we've seen, you have a lot to deal with in 7 months. It's still a big task to digest. And I would like to see this committee start digesting that contract before January and say, this is what we've come up with, and present it, and then it'd be, have 6-7 months to digest with the new council. But that's another one of the good things that has happened. You're talking to somebody that remembers when we had emergency ambulance. We had no ambulance service like you said before, right? I've rode in the back of emergency ambulance, okay? It rolled out of Fire District 4, trying to better our constituents, better our service to our community because we had no service. So was it a great service? It was a service that was provided that was none before. Did it go through some hiccups and some difficulties? It absolutely did. We have Acadian, and they've been, how many years y'all been here? So 1982, this is 20, well, it's a lot of years. I graduated in 82, so I don't even want to talk about how long ago that was. Again, I'm not saying that this is a broke system at all. I'm just saying that we need to do some house cleaning, and more importantly is the contract that was approved is just that, it's a contract. It's not by law. So we need to just do a little bit of this housekeeping, and then we continue to move forward.
Mr. Parker had a question.
Yeah, and as we said earlier, Mr. Wascom, to your point with the parish coroner and their involvement, these will be open meetings going forward. So they would, even if they weren't called, if they wanted to come to the meeting, they could always come to the meeting, make an open public comment as a part of the open meeting law. They absolutely could.
So let me I know he has his appointee, right? And he can make a recommendation to us anytime he wants to, if he wants to make an appointee. We built a brand new coroner's office. And we can do our own autopsies now. And guess what? We do autopsies for other parishes. We're going in the right direction when it comes to coroner's office. He's busy. Yeah. So I don't know what the difference is between the coroner having an appointment or making a recommendation and they serving, or this council serving individually on it, or doesn't he, put on it. Again, I'll be the first one to recommend Jim Brown. And thank you, Jim Brown, for your support and everything he does for this community.
Mr. Wascom, do we need a secondary amendment or to add on the fact that this QAP has to follow the open meetings laws?
Yeah, we did talk about adding that on. So I'll make a substitute motion to pass this ordinance to the full council with an amendment at the end of section 42-367C to add that that the quality assurance panel shall hold all of its meetings in compliance with the open meetings law. And we'll pull the state statute and reference that.
Okay. Do we have a second on that? Thank you. All right. We have a motion on the table. Any discussion? Okay, it's what's in here now, except we're going to add the one caveat, which is what, Mr. Parker?
That the quality assurance panel shall hold all of its meetings in compliance with Louisiana open meetings law. There'll be a revised statute notation after that, but that'll be what it'll be.
So the two things that we're changing is, one, we're adding another appointment to the board, and two, putting in the ordinance that they're required to follow the open meetings law. Is there anything else that's being added to this, Ricky? We're adding two appointments. Well, we're taking one back and adding two. So in essence, we're just adding, changing. Okay, that's the only two things that we're changing in the ordinance. You got that, Mr. Joe?
Let's vote on our voice vote. I can't vote on our iPads. You want to call for the vote, Ms. Teal? Yeah, I think so. Right. Correct?
Yeah, I made the motion for the whole proposed ordinance.
Because inspections by the accepted by the state's inspection is already included, is already in there.
That's correct. It's already in the ordinance.
So there's really no need for that for the.
Right. Well, what the proposed amendment to 42-397 does is it just specifies that these two individuals that serve on the quality assurance panel will be the inspectors.
And the next section says that if they don't have to basically inspect it if the state is
right. It says that they can accept the state inspection.
Okay,
unless
so that's already law. That's already law.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Mankus?
Yes.
Mr. Wascom?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Erdy?
Yes.
Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Okay, that passed unanimously. We will send this on to the full parish council at the meeting, and that meeting would be when, Ms. Teal? March 12th. All right. Thank you, everybody, for your time. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Is that anything else? We have a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second? Mr. Wascom seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, this meeting is adjourned.